One of the suckiest parts about dating is it always seems like the people we are the most interested in are the same people who end up ditching us. We get really excited about someone and we get all of our hopes up for this person to just begin to pull away and become avoidant and distant, breadcrumbing us and possibly ghosting us, losing interest completely. Now, I don't know about you, but this kind of thing would drive me into complete freak out panic mode. And to add insult to injury, everyone turns around and tells us it's our fault. We made the dire mistake of showing too much interest in people that we're interested in. This is the exact kind of thing that makes the dating game feel like a game, and I get it. It's infuriating. Hello friends, my name is Maria, and for almost 20 years, the question I could never answer was, why do I have to walk on eggshells around people I like? Why can't I be honest about my interest for someone? Now, there is a school of thought that says if they are the right person for you, your interest will not scare them away, and that is the damn truth. Your interest will not scare away the right person. Your anxious behaviors, on the other hand, well, that can be a different story. So if you are interested in learning how to show interest without losing theirs, then grab a bottle of nail polish and let's talk. You know, dating is hard enough without shooting ourselves in the foot. When I look back on my dating experience, yes, there were definitely some people I met that had no serious intentions ever. Even when people are genuinely interested in us, our anxious tendencies can have things spiraling out of control faster than you think. And if you don't believe me, let me tell you a story about a guy who I went on a first date with, had a great time, had every intention of seeing again, but within 24 hours, his anxiety ate him up. And I know it was anxious and insecure behavior. I recognized it completely because I used to do it too. And I'll tell you about that too. But first, let's talk about Michael. Michael is a guy that I met at a party, and within a couple of weeks, we had agreed to meet each other for a first date out at a bar, shooting some darts. So, okay, we are off to a good start. I met this guy, we had a good interaction, and we're going out to a bar to shoot darts and listen to music. It's one of my personal favorite things to do. It has all the trappings of an excellent first date. And it was a great first date. I had a lot of fun, and we even kissed at the end of the night, and I was definitely, absolutely going to see him again. Now, here's where I want to back up a little bit and let you know that I did meet Michael out at a party. We did agree to see, it was going to be at least a week before we saw each other for the first date in person. And I noticed that as the week went on, he started texting me more and more. Now, it was nothing creepy. He wasn't asking me about my exes or my body counts. He wasn't asking me to send inappropriate photos. It was nothing like that. I could tell that he was definitely really excited about the date, and there were a couple of times where he double texted. But I will say, I did want to get to know him a little better, and I will be honest, after almost 20 years of dating frustration, it is really nice to start going out on dates with people who are excited about you. It's flattering, so even though the texts were a little heavy towards the end of the week, whatever. I'm still gonna go out, I'm still gonna give this date a chance. So we had the date, we had the kiss, we said we wanted to see each other again. And then the next day, I woke up to the encyclopedia text message. The text message that is so long, you almost have to sit down with a cup of coffee to read it. He was telling me how much fun he had with me the night before, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's where it should have stopped. But instead of stopping, Michael started going on and on about how it had been 7 years since he met someone that he liked as much as me, and he really thought that this relationship could work. We've been on one date. He started talking about his divorce and how, you know, relationships are hard, but we can make this work, and if we're both willing to put in the effort. But then he started going into how he had been hurt in the past, and he did want to make the effort, but he wanted to make sure that, you know, we were both willing to put in the work, and if we stayed together, it would make it worth it. Part of the reason I can't remember exactly what he said is because what I do remember is after reading the word divorce, I sort of started to glaze over a little bit. He's talking about divorce and marriage and how hard relationships are, but we have to put in the work. I met him to throw darts for 2 hours. It's completely disproportionate. What Michael wasn't taking into account when he sent me that text is that we are two different people with two different pasts coming into the dating world. We're in two different places. Michael was coming from a place of being alone for almost a decade. He was coming from a place of someone who has experienced what it's like to have a failed marriage. He was also coming from a place of someone who had just had a great first date. Well, here's the kicker. I was also coming from a place where I had just had a great first date. But as far as everything else goes, I was not coming from the same place. I've never been married. I have no idea what it's like to have a failed marriage or to have an ex-spouse wandering around the planet somewhere. I don't know what it's like to be alone for a decade. I don't know. All I wanted to know is, what would it be like to date Michael? What would it be like if he was my boyfriend? I mean, what is the Michael experience? How do I feel when I'm interacting with him? Well, so far, up until the moment I read that text message, I'd had a very positive experience. Immediately followed by feeling a little smothered and feeling a bit of pressure and definitely feeling guilty. Because man, I could tell, wow, I am not where Michael's at, and I don't know if I can live up to these kinds of expectations. And it's not that I didn't have any serious intentions in my dating life. Trust me, I wanted to find somebody who wanted me just as much as I want them. A big part of the problem was I didn't know Michael that well, and the way that he was talking was triggering feelings in me that were negative. He was bringing up all of these serious things when we just gone out and had a lot of fun together. And it reminded me of how serious my dating past always was. Dating for me in the past had always been so much frustration and anger and bitterness and crying. And even though I'm absolutely someone who's willing to put work into relationships, this was too much too soon. I mean, I was not expecting that text message after the light and fun date we had the night before, and I wasn't really sure what to respond to him because now I don't know how I feel about Michael. I mean, 12 hours ago, I was having a great time and was definitely going to see him again. But now I'm sending him a text that says something like, yeah, hey, I really don't know where I'm at right now. No expectations. I mean, you can see how all of this is just, it's starting to change the energy of the whole dynamic. And then what became worse was, I think, sending him that text ramped up his anxiety even more. And then he just started blasting me with texts and double texts. He was no longer waiting for me to answer text messages. And then the kicker was, he had seen on social media that there was a concert that I said that I starred, that I was interested in going to. I didn't even say I was going. And then, 10 minutes later, he comes back to me with, oh, hey, that concert, I got tickets, I'll come to see you. It's going to be a lot of fun. We can go together. And now I'm like, whoa. Again, no judgments. I have done things exactly like this. I actually started calling it upping the ante when it comes to anxiety, because you can see how he sent me that text and then I sent him a weird text back that probably ramped up his anxiety. So even though in the text I was kind of like, hey, let's slow down, let's back off a little bit, he immediately goes online and without even asking me if I want to go with him, just buys the tickets and says we're going together. He's starting to go like this because he feels me going like this, when quite frankly he could have saved himself a lot of grief by texting me the next day and telling me what a great time he had. And you know how he could have shown me that he was interested in me without sabotaging himself, he could have just asked me out on a second date and I would have said yes. But it actually gets worse. So he, like I said, he's double texting, he's blasting me with texts, and eventually I just stop answering him because now it's just way too much, it's overwhelming, and then all of a sudden he just stops. And I don't hear from him for a week. And here's the funny little thing about human behavior. After I don't hear from him for a week, what starts to happen? I start thinking about him. And I've said this in other videos. When you're not oversaturating someone with your presence, when you're not constantly in their face or texting them or telling them about your life all throughout the day, what are they doing? They're wondering about you. And when people wonder about you, they reach out. And that's exactly what I did. I was having an evening. It was a really nice rainy night, relaxing, peaceful. And I'm like, I started thinking maybe that was just a one-off. Maybe I should give Michael the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was just really overly excited. We did have a good time on that first date, and I texted him. And I immediately regretted it because one of the first things he texted back was, "Oh, hey, it's good to hear from you. I thought maybe you could use a little space, so I decided to go ahead and give you some space." Good feelings, gone. More guilt, and I feel like I have to explain myself. And it's weird because, again, we've only had one date and he's already talking about giving each other space. It triggers negative memories, negative emotions. It's too serious, too soon. Completely killed the attraction. Well, welcome to the other half, where attraction is not just about looks. You also have to take care of the inner half. And now, instead of us having some flirty back and forth rainy night chit chat, I'm saying dumb things like, "Oh no, I didn't need space. I'm a text cycler." What the heck does that even mean? Text cycler? That's not even a thing. When people are giving you answers that don't make sense, it's probably because they feel pressured to answer you about something. They're uncomfortable. They don't want to be too honest because, especially if they don't know you that well, they don't want to blatantly hurt your feelings, but they feel like they need to give you some kind of an answer because you're pressuring them for an answer. I've had guys do this to me. I told you, I've done the same thing. There was this one poor guy that I just would not leave him alone. He'd already given me a soft rejection and I wouldn't take no for an answer. And I tried to tell him, "Hey, don't worry, I'm not looking for something serious." And he was like, "Oh, but I am." And then I still wouldn't leave him alone. And a month later, I was like, "Oh, I'm looking for something serious." He's like, "No, I'm working on myself. I don't want something serious." It didn't make sense. I was putting on pressure and it was completely inappropriate for a guy that had already basically told me he only wanted to be friends and we'd only ever been on one date. So there's a tip for you. If people start giving you answers that don't seem to make sense, like, "Oh, I'm a text cycler," there's your sign. Michael could have read my reaching out to him as a sign that I wanted to see him again, that I was still at least a little bit interested. At the very least, he could have gauged the text as, I was certainly thinking about him. He could have used that text exchange as an opportunity to be fun and flirty and assuage the affectionate feelings. Just a bit of an exchange, and then a couple of days later, he could have asked me out again, and the answer I gave him would have told him everything he needed to know, because we certainly do not want to entertain people who are only texting us because they're bored or they just want to hit a dopamine or validation. But that's not what I was doing. And when he asked me out a couple of days later and I said yes, he'd know I was still interested. Or if I said I was busy, nope, it's over. Just cut your losses and move on. I really didn't even feel like continuing the conversation after that. That didn't matter to Michael because he just started all over again with the double texting, and the quieter I got, the more and more it was text blasting until I stopped responding completely. And I don't know if he ever got a refund for those tickets, because let me tell you, when he did ask to see me again, I was busy. At the time in my life when I met Michael, I had already done a lot of work on myself, and I learned that it was better to have a lot more boundaries when you first start dating people. It's better to take things slow and really take the time to get to know people. Stay a little detached in the beginning so you can observe who will be good for you and who could be potentially a disaster. And I feel like the reason that his anxiety was so glaring to me was because I had learned how to calm mine down. I had learned that dating is a process of getting to know people. Focus on fun for the first few dates. If you're really excited and interested in someone, awesome. Go out on dates with them. Show them your interest by continuing to accept dates with them. Show them your interest by continuing to ask them out on dates. There is no reason that you need to show someone how interested you are in them by sending them a 3-mile-long text message talking about your emotional past and what you see for you guys in the future. Date someone for a while and then tell them how much you like them and that you see a future with them. Calm your anxious tendencies and know that you don't have to over-explain yourself and overindulge your feelings. It's okay to just keep centered and show your feelings and show your interest with simple actions. And it's pretty wild. I've had viewers tell me that once they do learn to calm down their anxious attachment, they start to recognize, like I did, they start to recognize past anxious behaviors in other people that they're dating. And for once, they're the ones who are like, whoa, I better tropic like it's hot by China Glaze. My name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live my life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting The Other Half.